Hey everybody, I'm Adrian.
I'm Kimberly.
We wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about our process for planning our Black Hills Overland camping trip in our Polaris General. We got a lot of questions about what maps we used and the gear we selected and basically how we put this whole trip together from the previous videos we've done. So that's what we're going to talk to you about now. So if you haven't seen our trip, check out our other videos up there now. But basically, we spent 7 days in the Black Hills, and we did what? It was 653 miles of a full loop around the Black Hills, basically camping in a different spot pretty much every night with our two kids, who happened to be 8
and 3.5.
And 3.5. The first thing we had to determine is where were we going to go?
Right.
And we chose the Black Hills for a number of reasons.
Main reason being that it's the closest western mountains to where we are. That's within a day's drive.
I've been going to the Black Hills since I was a kid.
Yep.
Been out there dozens of times, so we're pretty familiar with the area. We weren't 100% sure what kind of trails there were, but we had read and we had heard that there was some good off-road trails. So we did some more internet research on that, and we saw, there's a lot of trails, specifically trails for 62-inch machines and smaller. And I've always been a fan of national forests because the national forests are cool because there's so many options on what you can do out there. It's really public land for you to use.
I think the national forest tends to be our favorite just because we know that if we want to, we can just go down a forest road and we'll probably be the only people there.
After we picked our destination, the next thing was to figure out when were we going to do this.
Big factor was the weather.
We looked at our schedules and we saw that there were a couple weeks in September we could make it work. Higher elevation out there, so we knew it would be cold at night. We're going to be camping. Yep. And really we found out kind of that second week of September that we had free was going to be a lot better than like the fourth week of September, just because the overnight lows kind of dropped from like mid-50s down to like mid-40s. We had kind of two options that we were approaching it as. One, we take the truck, the trailer, the UTV, and all the camping gear. We hit like one portion of the Black Hills. We camp in that one spot. We ride around for a couple days, pack everything up, including the truck and trailer, move to another location. Or what we really wanted to try to do is, can we dump the truck and the trailer, load everything into the General, and then go for 5 or 6 days is ultimately what we were originally thinking about.
Hoping for, yeah.
Yeah. Really, the thing we had to look at is permitting, where we could ride on the roads and things like that. Because we knew there were good trail sections, but we knew just knowing the Black Hills and looking at the maps, we would have to do some road riding.
Right.
And in South Dakota, it was pretty cool because they're a very ATV-friendly state.
Very pro-ATV, UTV, yep.
So we found out there's two ways. One, you have to either have your vehicle, your ATV or UTV, registered in your home state as a street-legal motor vehicle. Or you have to register in South Dakota. The final option was if you didn't do either of those, is you could get a temporary permit, I believe, for up to 30 days at a time. It's only $1 a day. Nice. Basically, you have to show that your machine is street legal, or you have to sign a form saying it is. It's got to have windshield, headlights, horn, turn signals, a bunch of stuff like that. First, I called the Department of Motor Vehicles in South Dakota, which was awesome because somebody picked up the phone on the second ring. The lady was super pleasant.
Yes.
And
2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
Very nice.
She directed me to one of the county courthouses. The same thing, call that up, lady picked up right away. She walked me through the whole process. She emailed me all the information. I filled out the form, I emailed it back, and if it wasn't at the end of the business day, I could have had my permit like in hand within an hour. And it was like 10 or 11 bucks. And then we had our street legal permit. And our UTV was then street legal during that time in the state of South Dakota. We taped it to our windshield. We had to get a trail permit for the Black Hills National Forest.
Okay.
And I do believe there's one for South Dakota, and I believe there's a separate one for Wyoming. Don't get me wrong, we were in Wyoming for a little bit. We didn't have the Wyoming one, so sorry, but it's just the trail kind of looped through the Wyoming border.
Right.
So that's something to watch if you're going through a cross-state area. But we found on the National Forest site website that linked to another site. We bought it, and then they mailed it to us, and we had it within a week. You can buy them on site from a whole bunch of different places. Yes. Like some of the convenience stores had them for sale.
They have a couple of really nice welcome centers too.
Yep.
That I guess have kind of like topographic maps so you can actually look and touch.
Yeah.
I mean, they have some really
nice.
The
Forest Service, the ranger stations.
Yep.
We read the rules for off-roading and things like that in the Black Hills to make sure that we were, legal and legit. Once we knew that we could do the trip, that it was possible, the next thing for us to look at was, well, what are we going to do? And that, I think the first thing we really had to look at is, where are we going to ride? How are we going to do this? What are the trails like and whatnot? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Would there be enough like sightseeing to keep the kids interested,
Yep.
but still have challenging trails there?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out if there would be both of those things together.
Yep. So I think kind of one of the first things we looked at was the motor vehicle use maps. Every national forest has these, and you can get them either on site at the ranger districts, or you can go online, and I think you can usually request them ahead of time, and they'll actually mail them out to you. Anything I've done in the national forest, I always try to pick those up because they're super useful. They don't have everything on them. They don't have like all the streams and things like that, but anything where you can drive a car or a motorcycle or an off-road vehicle, they usually have. And then having a just a general map, you know, a big map or atlas or gazette of the Black Hills of the area you're going to be going is really useful. And this one we bought a couple years ago when we were in the Black Hills again. That's the USDA National Forest Service one, overt general map. The other place to look that's got really good maps is National Geographic.
Yeah, we really like their maps.
Yep.
They're really tough. They put like a coating on them.
Yeah, they're kind of plasticky.
Yeah.
So those things are awesome. We got a bunch of those when we were in Tennessee.
Yep.
There's a few apps too, like Avenzia is good as a good one. I don't like looking at things on my phone though. I like a big paper map so I can see the whole overview. So I really recommend those and the National Geographic maps. Really, the next thing we started looking at is we did some more internet research. We found a website specifically on off-roading in the Black Hills called Black Hills Destinations, and you found that.
Yeah, it was basically folks had taken their favorite rides in the hills and then the names of those rides and then showed, like, almost even highlighted themselves on different forest maps or whatever maps they had, just showing where they went and what parts or portions of the trails they recommended.
It was incredible.
That's amazing.
They even had videos of some of them, and they had descriptions about what you would see, what the elevation was like. So
points of interest,
Yeah.
campgrounds nearby, little restaurants.
Even
I think.
restaurants, yep. Yeah.
They had quite a bit up on this website, so huge shout out to those guys.
So then it was just a matter of what we did is we got our motor vehicle use maps, we laid them out, and we just started clicking on there, looking at their maps, and we took different color highlighters, and we just highlighted all of their routes so we could get them all onto, actually 3 different maps, but get them all onto a large map so we could see the big picture all at once. We went through and we read the descriptions, and we kind of came up with a ranking system of how interesting basically the ride sounded to us based on the, terrain, water features.
Totally subjective to what we like.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it was funny because there were some rides where like, oh yeah, so we rated them 1 being lowest, 5 being, oh, you got to do this.
Right.
And then there were some rides that I don't know, like we rode on, there were 1s or 2s. And we're like, this is incredible. It was awesome. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Who knows? But
Yeah.
we tried to.
It gave us something.
Something when you're out there in the field and can't be on the internet looking at it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good. And you can see it.
I think it was at that point where we looked and we determined, we can do the overland thing because we looked at some different campsites, which we'll get to in a minute. But I think we realized, okay, there's enough stuff here we can do the whole Black Hills. And for us, that's north to south. That's Spearfish all the way down to Hot Spring. That kind of became our goal, is that we wanted to be able to run the entire Black Hills overlanding in the UTV. We had a couple other navigational aids that we used ahead of time.
Goodness.
and that really helped us out. We knew it would, because you don't have cell phone reception everywhere, right?
Nope.
And when you're out, just from our prior experience living out there and navigating other national forests just in our vehicles, it's not always clear what road you're on. Now you're like, where are we? And without a GPS, you just don't know. We had our Garmin Tread, which I will give big props to it. There's been some things I do and don't like about the Garmin Tread, but huge props to it is in the national forest. It's awesome because all those motor vehicle use maps are loaded up. That was cool because we could see exactly where we were all the time.
Right.
That matched the motor vehicle use map with all of our highlighted routes on them.
Right.
So that was super, super useful. I can't say enough good things about that.
Right.
And then the other thing we used too was the Polaris Ride Command, which was useful. Maybe not quite as useful just because of the different mapping.
Because of the way we prepped for this trip was through those forest maps. However, it did show more common names for roads.
Yes.
That was a huge upside to the Ride Command. One bonus with both of those, though, is that when we did make a wrong turn, which did happen, I mean, it's going to happen, that as it's plotting you on the GPS, it'll at least let you know, well, we're on the wrong track here because you're kind of veering off of their highlighted paths.
We didn't have any set plan like, we're going to go this route to this route to this route to this route, which you could definitely do. And I know, I mean, some people probably do that, but for us, it was, we had a general idea that we wanted to go spearfish to hot springs or vice versa. And we wanted to do it mostly on trails. We figured we'd wind up doing a combination of dispersed camping or boondocking, and then also Forest Service campgrounds.
Yep, and it was cost effective too.
You know, a big thing when you're doing that kind of camping, especially if you're off-roading, is you're going to get dirty, you're going to get hot and sweaty. So
a lot of dust.
We wanted to have at least a couple options over the course of the week for showers.
Bad news is that almost all of the state or the national forest ones do not have them.
None of them do in the Black Hills.
Probably
none of them have showers.
Because it gets so cold out there in the winter, probably. But anyway, the only
Yep.
ones that do, I think, or the one that did was Custer State Park.
Yep. So we looked at a few different places. We found that one place, the Steel Wheel, which I'm not even 100% sure yet if they normally, there's kind of some controversy depending who we talk to about whether or not we could use the showers there, but the owner happened to be there and was like, oh yeah, no problem. I don't know, maybe when they're super busy in the summer they wouldn't let you do that, but it was nice. We paid a few bucks and they had really nice facilities. We used their laundry, Coin Laundry. So that was our place where we knew, okay, we could get a decent shower and do our laundry.
Steel Wheel was like the northern hub.
Yes.
Like we knew when we got to the point in the Northern Hills that we needed a shower, needed laundry done. That was our hub in the north. Well, the one we identified in the south was Evans Plunge, is its kind of
That's
own
right.
shower.
Yep.
Down in the very southern hills, and then Custer State Park also is kind of the
Yep.
other place. So we just kind of had these places that, like, if things got real dirty or we got, to the point where we had no clothes left,
Yeah.
we could at least pop in there.
The other thing we had too is we had these little camp showers that we can either fill with hot water from the stove or that we can leave out in the sun. So they're just little small. They're for backpacking, but we didn't wind up using them. We've used them before.
Yes.
So, we wanted to have some option. And of course you can always do a sponge bath or something like that. But that was something we looked into. And laundry, we knew we could only take so much clothing, even though I felt like we took too much anyways.
Right.
You can't pack 7 days worth of clothing for 4 people into an ATV. So that played a big role of it. And then I think the other thing was you looked up what trailheads, what areas we could park our car and our trailer and leave it overnight, because not every trailhead you can do that. As for specific clothing items, packing for camping is packing for camping. You have to watch the weather, but you also have to be prepared for the extremes. Definitely being out in the UTV, you got to be prepared for the elements. Incredibly, possibly for the first time in our lives, I don't think we got a single drop of rain, but we did pack rain gear, of course, full rain gear.
You got to be ready for it, and that's kind of what makes it fun.
Basically, we didn't really do anything then out of the ordinary for our UTV camping when it came to packing our clothing than really any other camping we do. Our camping gear in general was pretty similar to what we bring when we truck camp. Again, we just had to pare it down a little bit. So like we couldn't bring as much cookware. We limited our food a little bit more.
We did.
We had a smaller cooler.
We did simpler meals.
We wound up, I think a few things that we did that I would say were different than our normal camping is we picked up those DeWalt sealable boxes. They're toolboxes basically, but they work really nice because they stack and they keep out not only just the water but the dust.
Yep, and we talk about that when we did our loadout video.
That's
so
right.
You can check that out if you want to see exactly all the things that we packed in the back. But
yeah,
that was new gear that we had to buy. Also the Cabela's dust roll bags.
Yep. Yeah. Everything we had out there, it was either okay that it got dusty or it was sealed in a container or in dry bags.
Right.
And honestly, we went on some different websites and I just printed off a couple camping checklists. And, we've been camping for, years and years and years. So we kind of had an idea. So I made sure that we had, those things. And we went through that together and kind of checked off the list and determined what do we need, what do we not need, how do we pare things down, keep them small and lighter weight. And, for the most part, it wasn't really anything specialized. Machine prep was the next thing. So definitely got to make sure, before any ride, you want to make sure that there's some things with your machine that are good to go. You got to remember, you're loading with 4 people and a lot of gear. Your machine's going to sit lower.
Right.
And it's going to bottom out faster. Our suspension is adjustable. So we clicked it on the medium, and eventually I think we wound up clicking it all the way up to firm, or at least firm in the back. So we
down.
could hit bumps and things like that at greater speeds without worrying about bottoming out, and it made a big difference. And then really the final thing we did is, as we were driving out there beforehand, is I called up a couple of my friends in the area and was like, hey, are you going to be around? And if we completely break down in the middle of nowhere, if we call you, could you at least give me a ride back to where we parked the truck and trailer? So I would say if you don't know people in the area, just make sure you've got good emergency contacts. Right. Just like if you're going to go hiking or hunting in the backcountry, make sure people know where you are, generally speaking. But the other thing you could do too is look into, one of the emergency rescue beacons, like from Garmin or something like that. We kind of just planned the rest as we went. Like we drove out there. And we weren't even 100% sure where we were going to drop the trailer until we were a couple hours out. We were talking about going north, basically starting at Spearfish and going south, but then we figured, if we start in the middle, whichever direction we are, if we have trouble, we're going to be closer to the truck. And then other than that, night by night, it was just, we're going to ride up this way. We would look at the map and, what we thought was interesting, and we'd look to see if there were campgrounds or, keep an eye where you can get gas. Obviously, we had our spare gas, but we knew, if we were going to be near a town, we would divert so we could refuel, because that's important when you're out there. There's not a lot of places to refuel.
I think being flexible is really important too, especially if you have kids along. Sometimes you're just played out. So being more flexible on those days, being like, okay, we don't need to hit every single one of these trails. Keep them happy and be able to be like, yeah, they're pretty tired today, or nope, they're super motivated, they're really into it, they're enjoying all these water features or whatever is happening that day, then keep going and do more. I think we've seen since we got back from this trip that they are watching these videos and wishing we were still there, or they're like, can we go tomorrow? Can we do? It's like, sorry.
Grant always wants, he's like, can we go? Yeah.
So now for the super good news.
Yeah.
We were able to scan in the road use maps that we got, and
with the trails that we put on,
highlighted on it,
all of our trails, not just the ones we took, but all of them. So what we're going to do for you is there's going to be a link in the description below, and it'll get you to those maps that we had scanned in, super high resolution. If you want to go off-road in the Black Hills, now we highlighted 62-inch trails, but if you want to go off-road in the Black Hills and you're wondering about where to ride, it would be a great place to look, and it's going to give you the whole picture, basically, like we looked at.
Please do this. This is awesome sport. We would not have seen half the things we saw on this trip without being on these trails, on these back ways to get there. Especially Custer Peak was insane. It
was cool. I mean, we've been out there again many times, and we lived out there for a while, and we got to explore totally new places. So if you're not sure about something like this, again, you don't even have to overland, but even if you go pick a place and then go exploring, go do it. Don't worry about the perfect planning. Our planning wasn't perfect.
Nope.
We had some rough ideas. We did our research. But beyond that, like, life is an adventure. So just get out and do it. Force yourself to do it. You won't regret it. It'll be a lot of fun. And we're looking forward already to the next one. I think we got some plans. It's getting a little chilly right now, actually. But I think we got some plans this winter. We're going to take the ATV, or the UTV, I should say, the General up north into northern Wisconsin, find some winter off-road trails, some winter UTV trails, and maybe do some winter camping. Next year, we're already looking. We've got a few different places, we think, ideas on where to do our next overlanding trip with the General. So if you have any ideas, drop them in the comments below. We got a lot of cool adventures coming up that we're looking forward to sharing with you.
We're super thankful for all the support and all the great questions and a lot of information sharing that's been happening. So thank you guys. It's been a great community. So
yeah, cool. All right. Well, we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.